talk to you. So if you're not where you can see me, I apologize. We're going over to him, and he gives us his words of greeting. We had a terrific battle this year to obtain the permit for this event. We really appreciate you folks being here to support us in it. And I want you to know that the professional people on the Prescott National Forest staff and the people that they came in contact with were impressed with the professionality of these people. They went to bat for us, not because they like desert racing, not because they like desert racers, but because they wanted to do their job right. And I think that speaks well for them. Let me cover this one right now. There's some sections of this trail, especially right off the start. The first mile and a half is a genuine chow trail. It is 40 inches wide by government standards. You can get any 40-inch vehicle down it. You'll think it's much narrower than that when you're going down to 30. It has 783 turns in it, so we didn't mark them all. There's some rock ledges. The mini bikes have successfully run that course during their race. I don't expect to hear any whining from anybody after the race. However, leave and have the courtesy to get off the trail so the other guys don't see you doing it, okay? It's really going to be kind of easy. I'm just kidding you about how tough it is. But the first mile and a half has a lot of turns. It's downhill through the rocks and over the ledges, and some water bars that were built in there by hand. Good work to the crews that were out there. And we're going to be fixing some of them after the race is over, probably. But anyway, we'll expect to see everybody live through that. So the courtesy on the trail thing is going to be tough in that department. You're going to have to really not spend any time looking behind you if you're a beginner or a novice and have trouble deciding when to let people pass you. But you're going to have to keep your nose on the ground in front of you, not the nose on the ground, your eye on the ground in front of you, and ride what you see, because it is a difficult section, and it's going to be a place where you can hold people up. We're going to start you every 10 seconds, one at a time, and that will get you spread out on the trail, but you're going to have to maintain yourself through that first mile and a half and come out at checkpoint 1. Make a hard right-hand turn, you go on to a 10-mile-long road section, which I'm going to describe for you right now. There's some cows in there. Big brown things, 4 feet. They don't move off the road too easily until they've been spooked the first time. Some of them will try to run down the road in front of you. Well, you're just going to have to edge off to one side and herd them off a little bit, but we don't want to run the ranchers' cows to death. They have been gracious to us, worked with us very well. We're thankful for our good ranchers in Arizona and the good time we've had with them, so let's don't run their cows to death. The first time through is the only time you'll see them, because after that they go eat somewhere else instead of in the middle of the road. But there are some cows in that section. Now, you're going to go down that fast road, and this fast road is marked with some turn arrows. There are some real decreasing radius turns. There's some where you climb 100 feet and then drop 100 feet off the other side, but it's drivable with a car, actually. There's some rain ruts in it where some fool during the wet weather went through there and dug 2-foot deep ruts in it. So you come around a corner and all of a sudden, there's the big rut. You stick your front wheel in, the back wheel goes somewhere else, and you go over the bars, right? So there's 3 different signs out on that road in that 10 miles where the worst of the rut sections are identified for you, but you'll know when you find them. The first thing you're going to run into is cattle guard. Then you're going to see sharp, vicious turns at high speed. Those are marked, but you've got to read the terrain. You cannot depend on the markings to get you through any of those high-speed slidey turns. Some of them are off camber a lot for a Forest Service road. I mean, they drop off 4 feet to the outside, and it's granite, hard packed. Going to be interesting. A little bit of flat tracking experience will serve some of you old-timers very well. Lots of ups and downs, lots of twisty turnies, but it's a fun section if you can get into a rhythm on it. If you try to race through there at flat tracking speeds at 100 miles an hour, you're going to eventually go off one of the cliffs, unless your skill is way beyond mine, and many of you can speak well to that, I'm sure. Okay, the next thing we come to is the first rocked-in water crossing. We had to bridge this first one with rocks. We built up rocks in there about 3 feet deep and made the rocks come up out of the water, so you didn't touch the water to get your oily old bikes in these waters, so the game of fish guys don't lose any tadpoles, which the cattle trucks are killing every day when they drive through those crossings normally. So, if that makes sense to you, we go across those rocks and get on down the road. Now, the next one you come to says water bridge, and that means there's going to be a flagman, Tom Spring, standing there with a flag, guiding you off to the left-hand side of the trail. And there is actually a little plywood bridge built over the stream so that you don't touch the stream with your nasty old bikes. Now, I'm being facetious a little bit. You may have noticed that. Immediately across that, and it is plywood, and that makes it slippery if it gets wet. Immediately across that is a hard uphill and back onto the same road that you were on. You're going to be crossing off to the the left-hand side. There's a flagman there. If you choose to go through the water instead of over the bridge, it costs you 10 minutes. They'll just write your number down, and we'll talk to you later. On down the trail, you come to checkpoint number 2. After 2 more cattle guards. High-speed roads. This is all twisty and windy, up and down high-speed roads. Now, you're going to come into checkpoint 2. They are going to stop you, but not mark you. They're going to stop you with the flag, then let you go. Immediately, you'll see another flagman standing 40 yards away at the next bridge. Off to the right-hand side, cross over on the plywood, on down the trail. Now you're going to get down into more cattle guards, more high-speed road, and come into checkpoint 3, there's another bad rut section. Now comes the fun part. After checkpoint 3, which is another rolling check with a flag, Bill Blanton's standing out there waiting for you, and the Forest Service guys are there. You're going to turn into a trail that's all high grass, and it looks like a grass field, but there's really a road there. It's just disappeared in the high grass. Buried in the high grass are 12-inch rocks under 15-inch grass. And so you hook up on that wheel and hook up on that wheel, and there's some various things you can do in that section, but it says hidden rocks, and that's exactly what it is. Because right in the trail, they're buried, and so you're going to have to really watch that section. It runs for 2 miles, and then it makes the turn onto a fairly smooth trail for a half a mile to get your mind eased up, and then we put you into the rock section. And the next sign says 6 miles of rocks. And that rock section is real hard to tell the dirt from the rocks, because there isn't any dirt, because the trail is rocks, and the side of the trail is rocks, and there's a trail marked through there on an old road that's there, but it is rocky. And when you get to the top of the mesa, you're going to climb way up on top, and then start down the other side. Bob will be there in the orange Ford truck waiting to wave you by. And what we want to suggest to you is that you don't get hurt in this section. Don't fall down in this 6-mile section, because it takes a long time without a helicopter to get there. It's a slow, very long process to get into this section. So after check 3 and until you get to check 4, do me a favor, don't fall down and get hurt. As you come to that gate E, it's on the downhill leaving the mesa. You're going to fall off several places on the downhill, some fairly severe turns. Those are all marked pretty well for that type of terrain. I mean, it is just one rock pile after another. The best riders will make up some good time on the slower riders in that section for sure. Coming into the next gate then is another cattle gate, and then another water bridge sign, another one of those plywood bridges you need to go across. And Chip is there waiting for you. Then we go very fast into checkpoint number 4. It is at the road. Here's the tricky part. Here's the part I hate to tell you about. This is the one. Across the road, it's the main dirt road you travel coming into here, and ride down the right-hand edge of that road at 10 miles an hour. That's second gear, 10 miles an hour, cruising, not making up the gap on the guy in front of you, not closing up that gap at all, because that's something he earned when he got to checkpoint 4, with that distance between you and him. You can't close it up going down that road section. So you've got to just maintain a nice, steady, slow 10 miles an hour. That's real hard to gauge, I know, after you've been going 60 and 70 miles an hour. It's almost impossible to gauge. Get it down in second gear and chug, 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 chug down through that section. 7/10 of a mile. There are 4 or 5, I'm not sure which flagmen on that section. When there's cones on the edge of the road, you need to stay outside those cones along the ditch edge. And when you get to the last one, there's a big sign that starts it that says no pass zone, right at checkpoint 4. You cross the road, you hit it, it says single file, no passing. Then you go down that section at the end, it says end, no pass. That's back onto the trail and full speed ahead. The penalty for that section is 10 minutes if you blow the 10 miles an hour, so it's not worth going 10 miles over 10. On to the next section is probably the neatest trail on the entire course. It's a lot of fun. There are some water crossings that aren't bridged in there. There's one that's rocked in toward the end of it. You'll come out on checkpoint 5. Is the start of the road that comes through camp here. It's this graded dirt road. It is high speed. It is absolutely dangerous because it's lined with 12 to 14-inch pine trees, and there are blind corners everywhere. There's 4 cattle guards. There are 3, 4, 5 water crossings that aren't bridged. They're taking tests of the water to make sure we don't contaminate it after the race is over. They're going to test it for all kinds of wonderful things that might come off your motorcycle. And you wouldn't believe what the Prescott Forest professionals have gone through to make this event possible, given the constraints that were put on them by 40 dozen weirdos. Enough said, okay? I won't go any further than that. I don't need to run the matter out. Coming back into camp, here's the part part where you're going to need to pay heads up. You're going to have only one road to pit on if you're going to pit next to the racetrack. That's this one coming into camp here, straight in. The race course doesn't go up through camp. You got to bring your gas cans down here, or you can leave the racetrack carefully, slowly, ride to your camp, work on it, gas it, do whatever you want to. Come back to the same point, get back on the track, race here to the finish line where Farrell is standing with the orange vest on, and then we take off again. Now, we take off again in another 10-mile-per-hour section. From right here at checkpoint 6, down the road, we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 flagmen to get you back to the hill over here at the spring where the minis were running this morning and start racing again at the last flagman as you cross the road out there. They will be telling you, slow down, you'll know where they are, you'll know what the section is, you can pull off and gas here anywhere on this section as you go down that way. Wherever you want to do it is okay. We simply have to do the 10-mile-an-hour section. They're allowing us to take unlicensed vehicles on a licensed-only road, cross a licensed-only road, do all kinds of weird things to get you through this and make it work. You've got to, in turn, help out and go 10 miles an hour. Second lap, experts, you're going to be catching the last of the beginners going through this trail section. We think that we'll get the beginners through that trail section before you get there. We're hoping to do the start that way at 10-second intervals. We think it's going to work out. But the experts are going to be coming through. Beginners, don't spend any time looking over your shoulder. Spend your time watching the trail in front of you. You maintain your line. The expert will get by you just fine. Don't spend time jumping from rut to rut or swapping sides of the road. You maintain your line. He'll get by you fine. There's something else I'm forgetting here. Helmet card will be marked at the final one. We'll get your helmet card off you. Don't go back to camp with it. Spark arresters. Here's the biggie. If you lose your spark arrestor during the race, nobody knows better than you that you lost it. If the unit is gone off of the bike, you can continue on the track. Fire danger is low today, but we have to run with spark arresters. You can continue on the track till you get to here, and you have to get out and replace it. If it falls, the unit totally falls off, you might as well stop, pick it up, and bring it back with you, because I know you don't have another one in camp. If we find your thing is broken, your pipe is broken, you've fallen down on the race somewhere and the pipe is broken, that is also a broken exhaust system. We need to have you get out of the race, go fix it completely, come back to the finish line, say, hey, Larry, it's me, I'm fixed up, I'm ready to go, and we'll put you back in the race again. We must run with Forest Service legal spark arresters, so don't lose those babies. If you do lose it, stop on the trail, pick it up, bring it in with you, because you got to have it to leave on the next lap. You need to shut off your motor while gassing. Fire should be out in the camp area during the race. Unless you are sitting right there with it with a fire extinguisher. It better look real good when the fire marshal comes around during the race. Fines are $100 a piece for riding unlicensed vehicles on the road out in front. Don't do it. The Prescott National Forest Friends, the consortium of some nice people and a lot of weirdos that are trying to prevent this race from happening. Some of them are here listening to me right now. Some of them are walking around taking pictures of things. Some of them are out on the course watching bird nests. Some of them are counting fish and tadpoles. Some of them are doing everything they can to prevent this from ever happening again. We want to do a good job. We want to do our job right. We want to be good citizens and good users of the National Forest and do it right. We'll let them worry about their problems by dealing with the pros at the Forest Service, okay? So if somebody should come up to you and confront you, send them down to talk to the guys in the green. They can handle them. Let's see. 10 mile per hour, those two road sections are critical. And the water crossing, if you go through the water instead of over the bridge, it's 10 minutes. You just got to do it, folks. That's the way it is. We thank you for being here. Do we have any questions? I want to tell you about the start procedure because everybody is wondering what in the heck or how are we going to start. The place you have to get off and walk, there is no place on the course where you have to get off and walk your bike. You can ride through everything, but there are two 10-mile-an-hour sections, one after check 4 and one right here after check 6. First-time racers, this is something Phyllis has to sweat through every race. If you bring your buddies to the race at the last minute and want to get the first-time racers fee, that's for people who pre-enter before you get here to the race. So get your buddies to pre-enter the race beforehand. When you come to Flagstaff, the 25th and 26th of July, make sure they pre-enter beforehand. Also, the October date was changed in the rider's notes. If you noticed, it was different than the date on the calendar, the poster that was sent out for the Prescott National Forest. That date has now been changed to October the 11th. There is some small possibility that the environmental weirdo that was preventing us from getting the race at San Manuel will get out of there and we'll get that race back. I know many of you wanted to see that race return. That's a possibility now. The mine called me the other day and they said it is really a possibility. So we're going to work with them our best to try to get that for you. If not, it'll be at the Vulture Mine. Say again? We did have some problems with some really insane people who toss rocks at people and start to log out the road once and some other crazy things. They put nails on the main road out front, got the sheriff flat tires and made everybody mad, right? But they are doing their best to protect us in this thing. They have absolutely done a fantastic job, and I have a lot of volunteers out there trying to keep this thing as absolutely safe as possible. But do keep the heads up on this situation. If you see anything, tell the checker at the next checkpoint. You're going to go through 6 checkpoints. Every one of those guys has radio access to me unless something weird happens to their radio. We can get in there and get some of these done. But if you see some single file order onto this trail, we're going to trail you out there single file and start you at the spring. One at a time, every 10 seconds. So we need to get you in start order, leaving here. Bill Briscoe.